Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. Again, as Pam mentioned, my name is Denny Putra, and I currently serve as a graduate assistant at the Purdue AAARCC. Originally, I am from Indonesia, so I am an international student. And currently, I am entering my third year in a counseling psychology program here at Purdue. My titles is a little bit different than the others, but I believe that what I'm going to share today is an important component or aspect that is helpful for you to go through your higher education's experiences. And some of these aspects already been described and mentioned before by Renz and Dr. Abraham. So hopefully what I'm trying to emphasize and speak about can complement what they've already been saying. Can go. Am I have a control or?
I can run it. You just tell me if I.
Okay. All right. Next slide, please. Yeah. So just briefly, again, like mentioning about the transitioning into higher educations, I think that for all of us who have a privilege to go through pursuing the higher educations, I think there is this process that we universally have to go through, right? I mean, as I think Renz also mentioned this before, and I will also later explain, share my experience with that as well. So even though these transitioning and is a normal developmental phase, but then somehow it affected individual differently, uniquely depending on their background. For example, like their ethnicity background, nationality, the location where they're coming from, institution that they go through, and then their gender, disability, their religion, and also like maybe sexual orientations, right? So it could be different for each one of us. And speaking from my own personal experience, I went through 3 different institutions. I came here to the US like 25 years ago in 1995 to a very small town in northern Indiana called Goshen. So I pursued my bachelor degree there. I have to adjust to new culture. I have to adjust to the language. I have to learn the language. And I never know what it means to be a college student. And then I have to go through all these different process of registering, choosing my courses, and then paying tuitions, applying for Social Security, and all those, just all of these procedures, right? And then after I graduate, I moved to Chicago, right? From, if you can imagine, from like 26,000 people, like a town with 26,000 people, I moved to one of the largest cities in the United States by myself. Didn't know anybody. I have to, bring all my stuff, carry them with me, rent a truck, drive my truck, go over there, find all these places to live, and then going through all these procedures again as a graduate student, which is different a little bit from the undergrad. And then I went home, and then 2 years ago, I came back to Purdue to pursue my doctoral studies. And again, I am a non-traditional student, which means, as Pam mentioned, I work in the academia, higher education back home for about 9 years. And now I return as a student here, and I have a family now. I have my wife and my son. So it's another different adjustment and transitions to go there. And so in talking about this transition, I think that I try to simplify this. People may not agree with me, but there's this feeling of being settled, like being settled like physically and psychologically. Physically, it's more like, oh, I'm here, I'm at Purdue as a person. I have my own room, I have my own mattress, I have my own computer. So every things that personal belonging that you have, it feels like physically you're here, But then again, like with this pandemic, COVID-19, I think some students may not be able to be here at Purdue physically. So that might take a little bit, another different feelings for that. But then there's also this part of being settled psychologically, right? I mean, even if you're your presence here physically in a person, but then somehow as you go through your college life, undergraduate or graduate journeys, there's a feeling of like, what am I doing here? You know, why am I here? Like, I don't know anybody. Look, I don't understand what I'm doing here. And, you know, should I stay? Should I go? And all these feeling of not being grounded in one place, right? So that's what we say, we mention as sense of belonging. Okay, next slides. Okay, so talking about this being settled psychologically, I probably just want all of you to think about and then take your time for just a personal reflection. You know, as you walking through your college life, your higher education journey, just being aware and attuned to your feeling, the changes that happen like day by day, like daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly as you go through your journey, right? And then reflect on your academic performance, like how well you do, how well do you do on your classes and courses, and then reflect on your interpersonal relationship, right? Like, how are you connected with people around you? How do you know people in this campuses? And then being aware of the engagement within and outside of your classroom. So basically is, how are you active in your classroom? Are you comfortable asking questions? Are you comfortable? How do you feel like how do you perceive your faculty attitudes toward you? Is it comfortable to ask questions with them? Do you think they're supporting you? How about your friends? Can you be like speaking freely with your friends, or is it hard for you? Do you feel distance with them? Do you feel disconnected with these places? So all these questions could be an indicator of how your sense of belonging being low or high at this point. So just take your time. I know throughout your study, you may be very busy with your, academic life and all that, but then just taking a time just to reflect on how you're feeling all this time might be helpful to get a sense of how you feel belong or not belong to this space. Okay, next. Yeah, so I'm just taking these two very common definitions that have been used in all the literatures in sense of belonging. Like the first is, a sense of belonging generally refers to a feeling of connectedness, that one is important or matters to others. And then the second is sense of belonging at the most basic level, whether or not students feel respected, valued, accepted, cared for, included, and that they matter in the classroom, at college, or in their chosen career path later. So from these two definitions, what I'm trying to emphasize is a point of, it is subjective in nature. So meanings like, nobody can tell you, how you're supposed, whether you feel belong or not. You are the one that can feel it. That's up to you, right? And then the second one is validation. So as it been stated in that definition, feel respected, valued, and accepted, or cared for and included. That means like you are being acknowledged as a person, as the whole person, not just your academic performance, but as you have a voice, right? You have identity, you have a background, you have something that is unique, and that being validated is a very, like, I think it's the most essential part of being a human, not just a student. So so that means like it's very important just to get a sense of validation from people around you, right? And then it's space related. So it means like it doesn't only happen in one space. Space is like, in the classroom, outside of a classroom, in organizations, or maybe like in a cultural center, or any places on campus that you can feel some sense of belonging in that sense too. And then it's dynamic. It changes every day. It changes every week. But I think it would be, should be sufficient to sort of like getting an average of how you feel like every week or every month of your live or live in college. That would be get some sense of that sense of belonging within you. And then the last point that I also want to emphasize is this sense of belonging is a collaborative effort between the students and institutions. It's not only you as a person who is responsible to have these, like to do, to increase the sense of belonging, because institutions value you as a student. Without a students, there's no institutions, right? I mean, this is a very important element of higher educations. So if you can, if both parties can understand each other, and then if the student can voice what they concern about, what they need, and the institution can be aware of that needs and meeting their needs, I think that's where the student can feel more being part of the institutions. Okay, next. Now, why is it important? This is some of the research findings that I went through in the literature. The first one is sense of belonging is associated positively with the student engagement, both emotionally and behaviorally. So the more student feels belong in their institutions, the more they experience like positive feelings, they less procrastinate, and then behaviorally, they're more engaged in the classroom, they ask more questions, they wanting to do more for their classes, they want to join more organizations and all that stuff. And then the second is, I think related to the first point, is persistence, right? I mean, if you're engaged with your academic, if you're engaged with your institution, you feel being part of this, right? You wanted to know more, you wanted to stay more, compared to those who may not feel belong, like, it's better if I stay home, if I stay out of school, and then you will not have that vision to finish, right, to graduate. And so the next one is another research also show that students who have a increased sense of belonging, they also tend to use campus services. Like been mentioned before, Ren's experiences of trying to reach out, getting involved in different activities, student organizations, and all that stuff, and even like a career services, right? So, and that means, again, I think it's kind of interrelated with the previous points that we talked about, where if you get more involved with campus services, you get engaged with your academic tasks and demands, and then you will eventually, or you will tend to persist in your educations. And then the last one is mental health. I think Casiana will talk about this later more, but I think the sense of belonging also thinking about like being rejection and inclusion, right? So those who have a high sense of belonging tend to feel more included and less rejections. And so in that way, again, like they feel part of the big community, and therefore they're feeling like less anxiety and depression. Next. So how do we maintain and cultivate the sense of belonging, right? Developing positive self-concept, right? And then having a family support, as like Dr. Abraham told us before, just don't cut your relationship with people who's been supporting you all this time, even before you're coming to college. And having a relationship with peers, faculty, and staff, right? And then again, like having the strong institutional support and resources, just like I mentioned before. How do you feel about the support from institution? Do they know what you need, right? Do they understand like what is you're looking for as individual who has a different background, who is unique, identity, like have a unique identity and social identities. And then of course, having a race and class conscious institutional practice. So that's again, that inclusivity, right? Including everybody, every student, institution needs to take an active role in that idea. And so from there, from all these different factors, I just trying to highlighting the importance of peer support and mentoring for the for the sense of belonging. Next. Okay, so basically, why peer support is important for sense of belonging? Obviously, the peer support, I mean, the sense of belonging is formed through social interaction, specifically to those through group who share a similar values, right? I think this is where I think that the students, I think Renz also mentioned this before, like understanding yourself, understanding your identity, understanding what you want, understanding what your hobby is, understanding what is important for you. Like, if you understand that, if you explore yourself and then getting more knowledge about yourself, and then there are a lot of resources and organization out there on campus that can probably meet one of these values that you have. You may not want to go, well, at least in the beginning, you don't want to go to places or spaces or clubs which they don't understand your culture completely. You know, you feel strange. You feel like, you know, they don't understand me. And then that sort of decreasing that sense of belonging. But if you find the values, a group that values you as who you are, right? I think that's sort of increasing the attachment, the group membership. And then when that group membership is formed, then you will feel that sense of belonging. So involve yourself in academic community, study group, just as like Dr. Abraham mentioned before. This is the place where you can be included. This is a place where you can be validated with your peers. And then again, mentoring. In general, mentoring is a guidance or a knowledge transfer given by, you know, more senior. That can be a student, can be a faculty or staff, which can help you to navigate institutional resources. So specifically for like, well, research show that specifically for first generations, it is very important the mentoring process happen, because this mentoring process get the student connected with the institutions. Like, you know, someone who's been here, somebody who knows what is available, somebody who knows where to go when you're facing those challenges. So how do you manage your time? How do you manage yourself, your eating habits, as I mentioned before? So all these different things, having a mentor is indeed having that, again, like a personal space where you learn about yourself, and again, how do you connect it with the institution. And specifically for, again, this is from research, like for the STEM program or the graduate studies in general, the mentoring also helps you to understand and access to research, which is important elements of the graduate studies. Okay, next. Yeah, this is more like of my experience back home. So in my, I am a faculty at psychology department. So I created this program, peer or mentor-led support group in my department. And I think now it's sort of being adopted and extended to the, like, across different programs, different colleges back home. So this is like a group that grow out of my desire to just create that space, the safe space for the students to just explore themselves, and then getting validated, and then getting support from their peers. And I realized there are, I hear voices of students that has a lot of struggles in their study, and then feel not connected with the program, feeling like they're not good enough to be a student. So this is where they can share all that concerns. So one mentor was leading or facilitating about 6 to 8 mentees, and then the topic in the group was selected by a student themselves. So some of the topics are like self-exploration, talking about careers, talking about courses like family, relationship, family support, interpersonal relationship, dating, and all these different things that matters to their developmental stages. And the mentor was supervised by the faculty, and eventually it was me. So I supervise all these students, the mentors. And then the benefit that that I found from evaluating the program is, again, the student felt safe for them to share, and then they get continue social support and validations, both from mentors and from their peers. And then they also experience personal growth, right? And being confident of showing themselves of who they are, like one true self. Now, this is something that kind of related to what I was talking about before, where when you explore yourself and then you can like voice and express your own self, that you don't become somebody else's. You know, you're being yourself basically, and people accept that. And how great that is, how great that feeling is when somebody, when you can just be yourself, and then everybody else can just, you know, accept who you are. And then also the student get more engaged with the school activities. Even in the program, they're more active, and then get more wanting to learn more in the program. So that's some benefit and experience that I have back home. Next. So again, like I think again it's been mentioned before. So there's some university resources that you might want to have access to, and we have like cultural centers, and then it's maybe later Pam can explain what resources we have for the students, and even we have like a mentoring program that's being started like this summer that can be something that we can do more in the future. And there's a faith community around campus. There are student organizations that's ethically based or interest based. So again, I want to emphasize that please explore yourself, understanding about yourself, your identities, social identities, and then your hobbies and all that. So you can find an alternative spaces where you can be yourself and, you know, getting validated and support from your peers and faculty. I think that's all from me. Thank you.